Welcome to this week's edition of Black Authors Matter TV, where we interview the latest movers and shakers in the African American literary community. You'll meet some old friends, discover new ones, and stay abreast of the latest book developments around the country and even the world. So sit back and relax for the next 2 hours with Black Authors Matter TV co-hosts Gwen Richardson and Dr. Rhonda Lawson.
Good evening and welcome to another episode of Black Authors Matter TV. I'm your host for tonight, Gwen Richardson, and my co-host, Rhonda Lawson, will be joining us soon. Before we bring on our first guest, I did want to let you all know about the National Black Book Festival. We are a little bit over 80% capacity, and the standard registration ends May 31st. So if you're planning to come after standard registration, we're in late registration, the cost goes up. But more importantly, we are at 81% capacity. So if you want to be an author, vendor, publisher, small business, don't procrastinate because our space is really going fast. So we have an amazing lineup again tonight for you all. And welcome to the show. If you've never seen the show, or if you are one of the regulars, welcome back. We appreciate you joining us, and we don't take it for granted, even though we do love what we do. So our first guest is an illustrator, and he does some beautiful work. I've seen his work. Welcome, Rhonda. I'm glad you're here. Glad to see you. And our first guest name is Don Tate, and he is an illustrator of children's books. And he has a lot of books that have been published with his illustrations. I'm hoping he's able to share a little bit of his illustrations with us tonight. Maybe he will. But in any event, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV. Don Tate. Okay.
Thank you for much inviting me to be here. Honored to be here.
Okay, great.
Thanks so much.
And were you going to be sharing some of your illustrations with us? I sent you an email about that. Did you get that email that I sent you?
I got the email. We'll have to see how well it works. I have illustrations from one of my current books, and I set it up as a keynote, and we'll have to share a screen and then test it out and see if it works.
Okay, well, we're going to do that after we talk. So when we do the share screen or illustrations or examples, we do that toward the last third or so of the interview. So you have a new book coming out. This Wade Hudson is the author.
Yes.
You're the illustrator, and it's called The Day Madear Voted.
The Day Madear Voted. Yes. Here's the cover.
Okay, yeah, because so you already have the book, because it doesn't come out when July 16th is the release.
July 16th. I think this is actually one of only 2 of the printed books that exist right now. So yes.
Okay, and that's beautiful. Now this is not Tyler Perry's Madear, so we don't want people to get confused about that.
We don't want to get that confused, and that is something that I thought about when I created the illustrations. I wanted to be sure to create an image of an African American woman that was not
Okay, that was not Madear. Yeah. And the Madear in the movies doesn't have an R on the end of the name. So that's one distinction. A lot of people who are called Madear, I know my husband's mother, they called her Madear, and it was with the R. So
and I think that's probably where that came from, but I know that a lot of people have feelings about Madear, and so I really wanted to avoid that. Yeah.
Well, strong one way or the other.
Madear. Yeah. And I really want.
So, Don, tell us how you got into. Were you drawing as a child? Was art always your gift, your talent?
Art was always my gift. I was always drawing pictures. I was always making art. I was the kind of kid who would find junk from around the house and turn it into a toy. So an old sock might turn into a puppet. Um, if I found some old yarn, I might make a wall hanging, either through braiding it or, weaving it or whatever. I just kept my fingers busy creating and making things. Yes, I was always the art kid.
Yeah, I found that people who have the art talent, it manifests itself very young. My stepson is an artist, and well, he was 10 when my husband and I got married, and he lived with us. It had already manifested at that point. So, and then his daughter also has the art bug, and she was drawing. You can tell the difference. People who have a talent for drawing, when they're
Mhm.
4 and 5, their drawings actually look like something, like not just scribble scratch.
I
They,
think that can be said of just about any talent. When I look back, I'm the oldest of four boys, and I
okay,
had a brother who was a singer. He sang in local choirs. Had another brother who was really good with athletics, and another brother who was just an all-around good at everything. Well, my brother who was a singer is an elementary school music teacher today, very popular back home in Des Moines, Iowa. My other brother who was good at sports grew up and became a high school football coach. And my
okay.
baby brother, who was good at everything, he's to this day, he's good at everything. So we get our talents. I often tell kids, that I often, when I visit elementary schools, to look for your talents. What are you good at today? Because that can be the thing that will carry you through. That's your purpose in life that can carry you through, your life.
I think you really hit the nail on the head. I think often our kids have great talents, but they may not be the talent that we envision for them. And then we don't always encourage it. But when we encourage a young person's talent, no matter what it could be drawing, it could be writing, it could even be video games. But when we encourage that talent and help them to channel it, they can make it into something wonderful. But it's often up to us adults to recognize that this is their interest and to cultivate it.
Exactly.
Yeah, a lot of times parents want their children to pursue things where they can make a good living. And sometimes the things that where we have talent may or may not be that in the parents' eyes. They may not be able to see how this can translate into a long-term income. So, but you can still pursue something that may be a very good profession and still cultivate your talent.
Most definitely. Sometimes I regret because when my daughter was young, she was good with hair. She loved to braid hair and come up with all kinds of, wild hairstyles. And she said, I want to grow up and I want to become a hairstylist. And I was like, no, you want to go to school and get a 4-year degree and go get your hair done. And I didn't encourage her there. Now my daughter is successful in her career, but I sometimes wonder, where that, I just kind of wish that I wouldn't have cut her dreams off like that.
Mm.
You never know where they would have taken her.
Well, she may still pick it up, you never know, or do
Yeah.
it on the side. And now people doing hair, a lot of them are making bank, depending
Yes.
on what, they don't even wash hair anymore. Who told me? Did you tell me that, Rhonda, or some other people?
But
When you go get your hair done, they don't shampoo it anymore automatically. They expect you to
a
show
lot of
up
people don't
with your
shampoo in
hair.
hair anymore. They charge extra
Yeah,
for
yeah, that's not included. So you never know. A lot of it sounds like yours. You translate it into. So do you do the art full time? Do you do the illustrations full time?
I am a full-time author and illustrator and speaker. So yeah, I write for I write for stories myself that others illustrate. I illustrate other people's stories, and I also write and illustrate my own stories.
you.
I've been illustrating since '93, so I've been doing this, almost 40 years, but I didn't become a writer until around 2009. I just didn't have the confidence in my ability to put words together. I thought that, writers were for people who had doctoral degrees or who had studied like ancient medieval poetry in college or something like that. But I'm just supposed to make pretty pictures. And it wasn't until I learned to respect my voice and my imperfect way of speaking and put my words out into the world the way that I speak. And I finally became a writer, and I love writing just as much as I love illustrating. When you're writing, you're telling a story. When you're illustrating, you're telling a story. In both cases, you're creating an image in your reader's mind.
Absolutely. Well, now, what was it that gave you that courage? I know you said you learned to accept the way you speak and have courage to present your thoughts in the way that you speak. But was there an actual moment, or was there a person that gave you that courage to move forward that way?
Yeah, so when I moved to Austin, I joined the local SCBWI, which is the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators. And I went to the monthly meetings, and the writers would encourage me. They would, Don, you know how to tell a story. You just need to put some words together and try your hand at writing. So if you remember back in 2008, somewhere around then, everyone was blogging. So I started a blog, and I started just getting used to putting my words out into the world through the blog. And I got a large following. And I had friends who said, Don, you know what? You can really write. You have a great ability to express yourself. You need to stop writing in this blog and put it together and put a story together in a manuscript. And I remember the person who that was. Her name is Cynthia Leidick Smith, who is a local author here in Austin, who said, Don, you can write. And when Cynthia said that, I believed her, and I've been writing ever since.
That's awesome.
Well, that is great.
Yeah. Because it takes courage to not only do it, but to listen to people who are encouraging you. Because there are some people who get years of encouragement and they never move forward because they still doubt themselves. So the fact that you were listening to people who encouraged you and then you move forward, that takes a certain amount of bravery, and it worked out. Your books are beautiful.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it is a brave thing as an artist to create something and put it out into the world, because everyone's not going to like your art. Everyone's not going to like your painting. Everyone is not going to like your words. And so over the years, you have to develop a thick skin and just understand that art is subjective, and that's okay, but still make your art and still put it out into the world.
Absolutely.
And that's true when you write books as well. It's subjective. There's some objectivity to it in terms of maybe grammar, but one person can think a story
And that is one of the things too that I was afraid that people were going to make fun of my grammar. And I was afraid
that's what editors are for.
That's what editors are for. But also, my imperfect way of speaking, my bad grammar, that's the way my grandmother spoke. That speaks to my family history. That speaks to my heritage. And there's nothing wrong with not speaking perfect Queen's English. We need to simply embrace our language the way that we speak it and tell a story in our words. And between the creator and the editor, we'll put a story out there that is authentic.
Well, authenticity is important because that makes it unique. Because anybody can be a cookie cutter or copy other people's work. So now, do you know the number? How many books have you illustrated, and how many books have you written? And if there's an overlap, you can say that there's overlap. So,
I don't know the exact number, and that's because I started off as an illustrator in educational publishing. So I illustrated many 8-page, 16-page basal readers, which are basically books that are used in the classroom as part of a larger reading program, but they're still books. Books for the trade, I would say that I have written and/or illustrated. So I say I've written and/or illustrated more than 90 books altogether. For the trade publishing, it's around 20, 25, something like that.
Oh, okay.
Wonderful.
So are these a wide variety of authors, or do you have authors you illustrated for more than once? You know,
So
do you have
it's
some
wide.
that ask for you when they're doing a book, when they get a book signed?
Yeah, so it's been a wide variety of authors. The way it typically works is an author sells a manuscript to a publisher, and that publisher works with a pool of illustrators, and the art department will and the editor will get together and say, "Hey, this illustrator is a perfect match for these words," and they will reach out. My buddy Chris Barton, who lives here in Austin, we started off as writing critique buddies, but then we've gone on to create two books together. One of them is called Whoosh, Lonnie Johnson's Stream of Inventions, and it's the story of the inventor of the Super Soaker Squirt gun. You remember
Okay,
Yes.
and that was
back in the day, everybody would use that Super Soaker.
and an
And
African American man invented that. I
it was an
believe.
African American inventor who,
Okay.
yeah, to this day is collecting royalties on the Super Soaker. So yeah. And then the other one is called The Amazing Age of John Roy Lynch. And it is the story of a man who was once enslaved and became one of our country's first African American speakers of the House.
Oh,
And
okay.
Oh,
this was all in the
But so it
backdrop
was
of
right after
Reconstruction.
Reconstruction. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. A lot happened right after Reconstruction, and then it got shut down, and then it had to resurface again 100 years later.
Yes, history
So
repeats itself. They say we're going through a third Reconstruction today.
yeah, I don't see that. But anyway, I don't want to go there. So anyway, um now when you um illustrate something,
Mhm.
do you have a signature look to yours, or do you have a variation? Like some people's work, you can see it. If you pick up, there's one particular illustrator that I know. If I see a book, I know that it's him. It
You know,
doesn't matter which author it is, multiple authors.
yeah,
Um, a lot of artists, they have a signature look, with their stuff. Like Jonathan Green has this vibrant colors,
hmm,
and Ernie Barnes, he has the own elongated
yeah,
characters.
yeah.
So what would you say is do you have like a certain thing that you do? The
You know,
Don Tate treatment.
oftentimes my readers tell me that they recognize my artwork when they see it, because I mean I'm creating the artwork, so it's going to have that Dante look. However, I've always strived to create a slightly different look with each book. I know that in art school that a lot of illustrators, a lot of artists are encouraged to develop a particular style and that be your signature style. And I get that. However, for me personally, that does not work. I would be one bored artist if I got up every day and I could only paint in oils, or if I was only going to create in scratchboard, or if I was only going to create in watercolors. So I like to try all of the above. Today, mostly I work, you can't see it here, but this is a 32-inch Cintiq, which is like a great big iPad that I draw and paint on digitally. So with this Cintiq, I can paint, I can draw, I can use chalk, I can take a picture of the clouds and paint a picture with the clouds. Um, so yeah, I like versatility. I like being able to do and try different things.
Okay. Well, you have quite a few things behind you. You want to show us some of those first, and then we'll try the share screen thing. See if
Well,
that
I
works.
have a few of my books. This is one of so remember, I'm an author and an illustrator. So this is a book that I wrote, and it's illustrated wonderfully by Sharice Harris. And it's the story of Jerry Lawson, who is the inventor of the interchangeable video game cartridge. So back in the 70s, everyone headed off to the local arcade to play Pong. There was a problem
Yes.
with the video games of the 70s, though, in that you could only play one game per console. So Jerry Lawson came up with an idea. He said, let's put lots of games on a cartridge. You stick the cartridge in the console, and now you can play hundreds of, if not thousands of video games. So he made it possible for us to have so many more video game choices today. This was an African American, self-taught African American engineer that a lot of kids aren't familiar with. So really excited about this book.
Okay.
And then I'll talk about one more. So this is Carter Reads the Newspaper. And this is the story of Carter G. Woodson, known as the father of Black History Month. At
Right.
one time, Black History Month was Negro History Week.
Yes.
After Carter's
Wonderful.
was in college and one of his professors said Black people don't have history, he set out to prove through his work that yes, indeed, Black people do have history. And he started Negro History Week, which eventually migrated into Black History Month. And so this is, the story behind that.
Okay, now that one you illustrated or wrote or both?
This is a book written by Deborah Hopkinson, an
Okay.
award-winning author, and I created the illustrations right here on my Cintiq.
Okay. Okay.
And then let me see, one more, one that I'm really excited about because you remember the TV show Good Times.
Yes.
And at the end of Good Times, they would always show that painting, The Sugar Shack, and it was created by Ernie Barnes. Well,
Right.
I always thought that it was JJ on the TV show Good Times who created The Sugar Shack. But many years later, I discovered it was actually a football playing artist, Ernie Barnes. And Ernie and I had a lot in common because when Ernie was a kid, he wanted to become an artist. But all of his friends made fun of boys who wanted to become an artist. So Ernie became a football player. And he played 5 seasons as a professional football player before he retired and created that iconic Sugar Shack image. I related to that story because when I was a kid, I wanted to be an artist, and my friends and my dad too thought artists for girls. So I was not an athlete as a kid, but today I can swim 6,000 yards in a swimming pool. I work out at the gym. I practice yoga. I run. So today I am an athlete. Like Ernie Barnes, I simply had to find the kind of sports that I enjoyed. So this is a story I think that all kids can relate to. And I actually seen the Sugar Shack in person just a couple of days ago. It's on display at the Blanton Museum in downtown Austin, Texas.
Oh, okay. Okay. I just
I
we
didn't
have
realize it was in Austin.
the
Yes,
Blanton
it was.
Museum.
It was the Sugar Shack was purchased by a collector, I believe, in Houston, just a few years ago, maybe 3 years ago, for $15 million.
Wow.
So yeah, so I don't have the Sugar Shack in my
Wow.
studio.
Is Ernie Barnes still living?
Ernie Barnes, unfortunately, is not living now.
Okay. I wasn't for sure about that. So I was looking at hello, I'm happy to join you. There's some people saying commenting about your work online. Now with that one, did you write that book or did you illustrate it or both?
So I wrote and illustrated that book.
Okay.
Typically what I will do is I'll write a first draft and then that turns into draft number 2 and 3 and draft number 80. And then I'll start to illustrate it. With the illustrations, you're trying to extend the story and include things in the story that aren't in the words. So then I will discover, hey, I don't have to say that because I've illustrated it. So then I go and I edit out the words. And then I discover, well, hey, I can actually illustrate this portion of it. So then I kind of go back and forth between drawing and between writing, sometimes, even draft number 90 and 94 and 95. So there's a lot of revision that goes into creating a simple 1,000 word picture book.
Wow. And that's
I
about
can imagine.
the length of a children's book, because
Sorry.
I have children's books too, and 1,000 words is about the length of a children's book.
1,000 words is actually long for a picture book. Picture book biographies and nonfiction are typically a bit longer, but your
Okay.
average picture book is in the neighborhood of, I would say, 300 to 500 words.
Oh, really?
That's
Well,
what
I guess my
I
books are a little bit longer because I tell
yours
and
are advanced.
for kids too. My books are for kids, well, 6 to 10 in there. So my books teach children how to be entrepreneurs. So I have to have a few more words in them. But that makes it simple for an editor when you have only a few words. So we ready to see if we can do some screen sharing and look at some
So
some
the only piece that I'm prepared to share today would be some of the illustrations from the book The Day Madear Voted. And so I will kind of share I'll attempt, if this works, to
okay.
share the illustrations. I'll share so you saw the cover. This is the cover. The Day
Yeah.
Madear Voted by Wade Hudson, written by me. I'll try to share the screen.
Okay.
See if this actually works. Sharing screen, I need to share Keynote. And I think that I opened up on the wrong slide here. Let me go here. And so The Day Madear Voted is the story of two young boys who get to learn about the voting process through their mother, who votes for the very first time in 1969. So on this particular illustration, Madear, you know, she's standing in her living room. She has on her best dress, and she's announced to the boys that today she's going to vote. And then here she's about ready to explain the history of African Americans and voting. The fact that that oftentimes African Americans, we had to really fight for the right to vote. That oftentimes we had to pay poll taxes or even guess how many jelly beans were in a jar before we were allowed to vote, if we were allowed to vote at all. But on this day, Madear is excited because she's going to vote for the first time, and the boys follow her along. They go to City Hall. There's a lot of excitement in the air. And this reminded me of the time when I was a kid and I would go to the polls with my mom. And I was so proud of my mom because she would cast her vote and she used her voice. Some of the people who are standing around, they're looking at her. They're not real happy that an African American person is in line to vote. But Madear is going to vote anyway. She goes into that voting booth. She comes out. She's practically floating with happiness. And the boys, they're cheering her on. This opens up conversations about the fact that, you know, possibly in the future, that there might be an African American president. And the family kind of ponders that. We move ahead in time. Madear goes to vote every year. And then in 2008, Madear has aged, the boys have aged, and they're going to vote with their mother. And they get to vote for Barack Obama, who becomes the 44th president and the first African American president of the United States. And this was a very touching scene for me, and I think for a lot of African Americans, because I can remember that night when Barack Obama was elected president and the joy that I felt and the emotion that I experienced on that night. And I tried to pour all of that into this final scene. And I think that is the last
illustration.
And so I'll figure out how to stop sharing screen here.
Well, everything is so beautiful and detailed. And kudos to you for your beautiful work.
The story as well as.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I put all my heart into creating the illustrations. So fingers crossed that that young readers will enjoy the story, and that they will not only enjoy the story, but they will understand the history, because our history matters.
You captured the essence of. I like the way you wove some other things into the story, like the poll tax and the counting the jelly beans, and they had the literacy clause. That was another thing that they used to use to stop Black people from voting. And what it was like a impossible test that no one could pass. Not even the white people knew. A lot of them couldn't read. The ones
I tried
keeping
to
Black
work.
people from voting, a lot of them couldn't read themselves. But they just wanted to put obstacles there because the federal government said that we had the right to vote, but the local and state people didn't want us to vote, and so they put the impossible barriers in there to keep us from voting until the Voting Rights Act. That was pretty much when it changed, although it still was slow.
A lot of that is still happening today. You know, a lot of that is still happening today, unfortunately. History.
Yeah, well, not poll taxes. That I don't know about any poll taxes, but
not poll taxes necessarily.
Yeah, but I encourage people to go and vote. Go and exercise your right to vote. It's important. And if you encounter any challenges, report them. You know, don't just accept anything. I've never encountered any in my voting years, but I hear that people do. And if you do, you should report them and keep reporting it and keep going up the ladder until you are heard, because every vote should count. So now, do you accept are all of your works basically through publishers now, or do you accept any private individual or author clients?
So I do work through a literary agent within trade publishing. So I typically just work through my agent. Now I did over the spring I wrote a book for the educational market. I can't really talk about it. They told me I couldn't talk about it, but I wanted to kind of stretch myself and give a try at writing it's a picture book, and I can say that the subject is weather, but it is not a trade picture book. So this will be a book that will be used in as part of the classroom and teaching about weather in the 4 seasons.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, that's great. Well, we're at the end of our time, and Don, let people know how they can maybe do you ever illustrate things and show them to people, like put them on Instagram, or is all of your work now basically with books and things like that?
So I do have an Instagram page, and it's real easy to find Devas T, DEVAS_T, which maybe isn't that easy to find, but and the same as Twitter. I'm on Twitter as well, and I've even been experimenting a little bit with TikTok. So I will often create an illustration, like in Procreate, and then post the process on TikTok. So that the young readers can see how I create my illustrations. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay,
Then my
great.
website, which is dontate.com.
Okay, your name.com. That's easy. So Rhonda, were you able to get the Instagram information? Because Rhonda's the one that puts everything on the in the chat.
So it's a DEVAS_T. Type that in, and Don Tate pop up.
Were you able to find it, Rhonda?
Okay.
Okay. You're freezing up a little bit.
Now I'm having well, that's what I was about to say. I'm having some connection issues, but I did put your website in the chat.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, Don, thank you so much. It took us a minute to get you on because you were so busy, and we were finally able to get a date that worked. So thank you so much. Thank you for being a guest on the show, and continue success with your illustrations. We'll be on the lookout. They're beautiful. Your work is beautiful.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you so much, and having me on your show.
Okay. Have a great evening.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so our second guest, um, unfortunately, he let us know this a couple of days ago. He was in a motorcycle accident and he is recuperating. And our wishes and best wishes and prayers go out to him. He is fine. He's not like uh he wasn't catastrophic type accident, but he needs to time to recover. And so we're going to book him. It was Eddie Clark. We're going to book him for a future date. And so in the time, and then our third guest is Omar Tyree, and he's scheduled to be on. So in the time that we have in between, Rhonda and I are going to talk about some of the books that we've been have acquired and books that are on our to be read shelf and books that we've read recently. Uh, for my stack that I have, I think all of these people, except one, have been on the show. So this is where my dollars are going towards book buying, which is a great thing. And so also, I Rhonda, if you don't mind starting, unless you because the person who's on at 8:30, she's in California, and I think she has the time wrong. So I want to text her and then I'll come back. So if you want to talk about the first couple of books, and then I'll communicate with her and I'll be right back.
Okay. So um I actually started reading Mary Monroe's books. The first book I read was Mrs. Wiggins, and I absolutely loved it. I loved the storyline. It kept me going. So I really enjoyed that. And then since it was a series, I went ahead and read Empty Vows. So I will, let me see if I can pull up these covers for you so you can see them. But I'm gonna reading somebody because as most of you guys know, I'm an audiobook reader. So I do a lot of listening to audiobooks when I'm traveling because I'm traveling a lot, and also when I do my power walks. So that was how I was able to get Mrs. Wiggins done, as well as Empty Vows. And so the third book I'll be starting on is actually a physical book, and this is the third in the series, Love, Honor, Betray. So I'm looking forward to reading this one because I felt like I was left hanging a little bit with Empty Vows. So it looks like Love, Honor, Betray kind of picks up where Empty Vows left off. So I'm into this series, and then I found out there's also a fourth book in the series that is about other characters who live in that same neighborhood. So I'm looking forward to reading that one a little bit later, but I haven't decided whether that is going to be audio or if I'm going to do the physical book. So I actually kind of told y'all about 4 different books, but Mary Monroe was actually on the show not long ago, and I told her, I said, you did that with, I'm trying to see if I can pull these covers up for you, and hopefully you guys can hear me because I was having some connection problems a little earlier. But let's see, here we go. All right, so this is Mrs. Wiggins. This is the first in the series. And the storyline is pretty original, if you ask me. I enjoyed the storyline. I was actually a little surprised because I wasn't exactly sure what Mrs. Wiggins was about before I started reading. And then the next book was, like I said, Empty Vows, and I'm gonna try to show you a cover of that one in a second. And then I showed you Love, Honor, Betray, which is the third in the series. So if any of you have read any of these books, I would love to hear your thoughts on it, or maybe comment in the chat. But I'm really enjoying these series. And it's also interesting because of the time period in which it took place. Just listening to how much people were paid, like $5 a week, $10 a week was big money. It kind of shows you how things have changed along the years. So let me know what y'all thought about this series if you read this series. And if you haven't, get on it because I'm telling you, it's very interesting storylines, very original storylines. And it's something that'll keep you going. Like I said, I like Mrs. Wiggins. a little bit better than I did Empty Vows, but I'm looking forward to jumping into Love, Honor, Betray, and I'll be doing that tonight. So now that Gwen is back, she can talk about her books.
Okay, I also read the whole series. So I will say Mary Monroe has her own way of writing. It's unique to her. She can keep a story going. She can tell a story. She can make some characters. She's really good at it. And she has her own lane. Only she writes like this in her books. So I read them all. Mrs. Wiggins, of the three, that was my favorite. But they were all good. And I loved them all. So anybody out there who's looking for a good book, Veronica DeBar says she gets them confused because she didn't read them in order. Yeah, the first one is Mrs. Wiggins. That's the first. And then I think Empty Vows was the last one, isn't it? No, Empty Vows is the last one. Love, Honor, Betray is the second one.
Mrs. Wiggins is the first. Empty Vows is the second one.
The second one, okay.
And then Love, Honor, Betray
is the last
one. Third.
Okay, I read them all and I read them in order because I read them when they first came out. I read each of them when they first came out. So, you broke up a little bit.
There's actually a fourth one coming out too, and I can't remember the name of it, but there is a fourth book.
Yeah, she was on the show, and it comes. I have it on my order in my cart, my shopping cart. I just haven't pulled the trigger on it yet, because I got so many books. But I'm going to talk about, and we're going to go back and forth until our next interview. The Queen of Sugar Hill. Rashonda was on the show. My book club read this book and enjoyed it. It's about Hattie McDaniel, and it's a historical biography. So Rashonda plays a little bit with some of the dialogue, of course, and she keeps the facts, the timeline. But it was a very good read. I learned some things about Hattie McDaniel that I did not know, and she had a lot of challenges because she was limited in what she could do on the screen. She could only get jobs acting as a maid, and that made some people upset, especially the NAACP. They didn't like that she was playing a maid, and they gave her really a very hard time. So anyway, that was a good book. Then our book club is now reading and she was on the show, Avery Cunningham, The Mayor of Maxwell Street. So I'm just getting into this one. It's a 500-page book, and I am just getting close to page 100. But so far so good. This is set in the 1920s. So it's really good. And then I'm just going to mention these other two. Then I'm going to switch back over to Rhonda. Both of these authors were on the show with a book basically with the same title. The American Daughters, this is Maurice Carlos Ruffin, and American Daughters, Piper Hughley. They're completely different topics. They're both historical, but completely different topics. This one's set in slavery time. This one is the story of the friendship between Booker T. Washington's daughter and Teddy Roosevelt's daughter. So I've read this one, The American Daughters. It was very good. The American Daughters. I haven't read American Daughters yet. So my to be read. So now, Rhonda, it's your turn again. Oh, can we drop the book names? I don't know which names. This is Ozzy James. I don't know which book names she wanted to do. Maybe she wants you to type them in the chat, maybe. Maybe that's what she means.
Well, now y'all, that's a lot of typing, y'all. I'm holding up the covers. I didn't say the name 50 times. Come on.
Now, I can do it if I can figure out. I normally let you do all of that, but I'm gonna I think I can put a couple of mine in. Let's see. I'm doing it on my phone because I need to get a second laptop. I need to put that on my list of gifts to myself.
Well, I had a second laptop, and then I don't know if you remember that I posted that my other laptop went kaput. So I'm down to one laptop
Oh,
now.
oh, okay. So yeah, that makes it more challenging. But I'm gonna get me a
It
second one
does.
so I can be like, doing multiple things and I don't have to use my phone. So I'm gonna put a couple of them. This one is the mayor. Okay, so do you have another book you want to discuss, Rhonda?
Um, I don't read a lot of romance fiction. However, I did get into Kennedy Ryan's, if you can see that. This Could Be Us.
Okay.
And
Okay.
and I like this book. Even I felt like the romance part of the story didn't come until later in the book, which was cool with me because what I really liked about this one is that, she finds out her husband was unfaithful, and she kind of hit rock bottom, but she had a glow up. And it was because her sisters, her friends, they kind of surrounded her, and they kind of encouraged her to use her talents to start providing for her family as she was going through this moment in time with her husband. And so I really enjoyed that piece of it and how she was able to kind of start from scratch and start taking care of her daughters. I like how she wanted to put herself first. So like I said, the real, if you call romance books sappy, I would say the real sappy parts came toward the end of the book. But just moving up to that, I really enjoyed just reading, well, listening, because as you can see, I did the audio version. But yeah, I did the audio version, but just listening to the story and how she was able to glow up, how she was able to come up and start putting herself and her daughters first. I really enjoyed that part of the story. So if you're into those types of stories, I know Kennedy Ryan has been really, really popular on Instagram these days. And a lot of people have been reading This Could Be Us. Don't pick it up because everybody's talking about it on Instagram, even though that's great too. But pick it up because it's a great story.
Okay, I read Before I Let Go. That was a previous book, the book right before this one. I read that one, but I haven't read this one yet. So, okay, so she said, thank you. Okay, you're welcome, it's easy. I typed in the book titles. Okay, I am this one, The African Queen by Vanessa Miller. She has gotten a lot of exposure for this book and is historical. The historical is my thing. I think all these books I made, yeah, every single one is historical so far. And I'm looking at the rest of my stack. I think every single one is historical, except maybe one. So that's just what I like. But this one is based in 1869, and it's based on the true facts about a kingdom in North Carolina that was developed after Reconstruction, or no, not after Reconstruction, after slavery. So I haven't read it, but I've really read good things about it. It's called The American Queen, and it's by Vanessa Miller. And by the way, Vanessa Miller will be a featured author at the National Black Book Festival, and also Rashonda Tate. Not Bill, she's not Billingsley anymore. So Rashonda Tate will also be a featured author at this year's National Black Book Festival. And I haven't read it yet. The rest of these I haven't read yet, so I can't comment. But I thought enough about the books to order them with the anticipation of reading them because they sounded like great stories. So this is another one. It's by Ashton Lattimore. She was on the show. Well, Vanessa was on the show, I want to say 3 months ago, and Ashton Lattimore, it was maybe 2 months ago. All We Were Promised. And this one is set in 1837 in Philadelphia. So the reviews are really good for it, and it sounds like a great story. What I really need to do is like be able to take a month where all I do is read, and that's never going to happen. But that's The closest I came was a 10-day cruise that I went on last August, and I was able to read 4 books on that cruise. So, and that's when I can just sit and focus, and there's no distractions. On a cruise, there's very little TV even. You can watch stuff on your laptop or your phone if the Wi-Fi is working. And even though you're paying for Wi-Fi on these ships, it's still it's not, it's iffy. It's not that great. So that's I have 2 more after this, but I'll let you go, Rhonda. And by the way, I'm gonna go ahead and say this on the air. Rhonda and I, since last week, we decided we're gonna be at the Harlem Book Fair this September, and we're going to have a tent, and we're not going to be selling books. We're going to be selling t-shirts, our line of literary t-shirts that we have. And then Rhonda has some t-shirts and book baskets she's going to be selling. And we're excited about that. Have you ever been to the book fair as a vendor, Rhonda?
I've only been to the Harlem Book Fair once, and I was there as a participating author. So I sold my books and I got to read from the stage. And then I think the following year I moved to Korea, so I wasn't able to do it there. So I'm looking forward to.
Oh, okay. Now this is the first time I'm hearing that you were in Korea. You never told me you lived in Korea. You told me about Brussels, Belgium, and England, Germany, and somewhere else you said you were. But because I know your dad was in the service, right? So you grew up living in different places.
Mm-hmm.
And then since you've been in the military, you've been in different places.
Right. Well, I was in the military for that 2 years I was in Korea.
Okay. So we need to ask Max, because Max Rodriguez is the founder of the Harlem Book Fair. We need to ask him if we can be on the stage with our stuff. I didn't ask him that. We need to ask him that. I'm gonna try to get everything I can out of this trip, because I hadn't planned to go back to New York, but I am gonna go for this, and I have some hotel points I can use for my hotel stay. So I'm looking forward to being around a lot of people and being able to show our new line of literary themed t-shirts to a large audience. Because everywhere I've been where I had those shirts, they sell themselves. It's just a matter of how many people. It's a numbers thing. But I've had very good success selling. So do you have any other books?
Well, yes. I just finished reading Yellow White.
Oh, wonderful. Excellent book. Excellent book.
Yes. Well, she did a very good job with describing some of those scenes. You felt the pain along with the characters. I think that was probably one of the best aspects of the book. And I also like how when she wrote certain things, she didn't give me it didn't feel like she stopped telling the story just to give a bunch of history. She was able to reveal certain things, like for instance, the medications, the natural medications that the main character and her mother used. She didn't go into this long explanation of what each medication did. She just said, and she made some tea made with such and such and such and such. So I like that. But I didn't feel like she was doing commercial breaks with the stories per se. So that made me want to look up, because I like a lot of natural hair care and skincare myself. Made me want to look up some of those things, but I didn't feel like she stopped telling the story in order to explain those things. So I love it when an author does that. I think more authors should do that. But I think she did it in a masterful way to where it didn't take away from the story and make you stop wondering what she was talking about.
Yeah, the author is Sadiqa Johnson for that one.
Right.
And she really made you feel the pain of the main character. The angst. Pain is not the word, because it was pain, but it was more angst. Just you could imagine what she was feeling and how you would feel the same in the same circumstances, and how you would handle it. It just reminded you of the things our ancestors had to deal with and the things they had to survive for us to be here, because if they had given up,
And it
we wouldn't be here.
also reminds you of what a lot of us um are going through now. Like for instance, how the character was told, well, you're really pretty, so you're not going to have it as hard as everybody else. And we've heard people in this day and age, being told the same thing. Well, because you're pretty, you're not going to have it as hard as other people. And some people even call it pretty privilege. So when I heard that line, that was what I thought of. On Last year, I had a panel discussion about colorism, and that was one of the topics that was brought up was the notion of pretty privilege, and how some people who are considered beautiful have it a little bit easier, or are thought of. I'm not saying that they do have it easier, but they're thought of as having it easier than somebody who may not be as pretty. And if you ask that so-called pretty person, do they have it better? Most times they're going to tell you, no, I didn't have it any better. My experience may have been different, but it wasn't any worse or any better than someone else's.
Yeah, I was gonna say different instead of necessarily better. Because if you look, a lot of times if you look at people who are considered to be beautiful, they have challenges with relationships, um, just like everybody else, but maybe more so. Uh, Halle Berry is one that I could think of, that, and Dorothy Dandridge, who Halle Berry played in the film, had the same, she was considered to be, pretty beautiful, and she had challenges with relationships. So all that glitters is not gold. Everything is just not necessarily what it may seem to be, easy or simple, but it it has its own challenges. Whatever situation you're in has its own set of challenges. So next I have this book. I haven't read it, but our book club, I'm in two book clubs, but the one that's monthly, we picked Tanana Reeve Dew's book, The Reformatory, as our, let's see, as our book for, I think this one is for, okay, The Mayor of Maxwell Street is for June. So this one's for July. And it's a thick book as well. So I think this has 570 pages.
Yeah,
It's
I
good.
have it on audiobook, and I'm going to be reading it soon, and it's 20 hours and 51 minutes on the audiobook.
Oh, okay. I tell you, I had never listened to a book, and I tried to listen to a book.
Yes, I would never read. I have to.
Yeah, I see. I'm not when I'm in my car, I listen to music. So a lot of people, when they commute, they listen to books when they commute, but I love music. So when I'm in my car, if it's 10 minutes, an hour, or however long it is, I'm listening to music. So, and I try, when I tried to listen to a book, I said, oh, maybe it'll be better if I read along and try to see, but I read faster than I can listen. So, and I could see that just, and I sped it up, you can do it on different speeds. I tried that. And really, it just made it more, I don't know. I retain it better. Now, do you find that I retain things better reading them than listening? Because listening, you can go one ear and out the other. Seems like.
It kind of for me. It sometimes it depends on how exciting the story is.
Okay, maybe that's it.
Now, a business book that I'm listening to right now, and I would rather kind of read the business book than to listen to it. So fortunately, that particular book has a PDF attached to it. So I follow along with the PDF because there's so much information. I can't highlight anything. I can't circle anything. So for me, business books, I would rather read them. But for fiction books, I don't mind listening to them.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I need to try it on a interesting book, a book that's more interesting that I'm able to really get into. because the one that I tried, it didn't work. And I did get a free trial on Audible. I believe in free trials. Right now, I'm on a free trial with Prime, with Amazon Prime, because I don't do Prime, but I do the once a year they offer you a 30-day free trial. So what I do during that time is I go and look at any movies or whatever series that I wanted to see that's on Prime. And I normally get it all done within the first 2 weeks. And then I let it expire. No, you have to cancel. So I have to cancel on June 1st. I write it down, I put it in my phone because I'm not gonna go over the time. I do it like 2 days before the time's up.
I can't do that because I'm always gonna forget and I'm gonna
You
wind
have
up
to
paying.
put it in your phone. You have to put it on your calendar in your phone. Otherwise, you'll be captured. So my Audible one, it doesn't expire for another couple of weeks. So I may try it again on a different book, but it didn't help me on the one I tried it. Okay, so Tony Bonita said, I'm like you, Gwen, my mind wanders. In fact, when I tried to listen to that book, it would put me to sleep. It was like, you know how they have those things, apps you can have that it'll be like a fountain or a waterfall or something like that. After 15 minutes, I would fall asleep.
But I see, I will say that I have listened to books when I was tired because it helped me to fall asleep, but I always put them on a timer. So I'll only listen to it for about maybe 30 minutes because I know by the end of the 30 minutes, I'll be asleep. So,
okay. I guess it's some kind of art to it. It's something you have to figure out the little quirks in it. And I just really like reading. I've been reading since I was 4. It's hard to switch over. I don't know. Maybe I need to do a different kind of book, or I don't know. I need to be doing something different because it didn't help me. Okay, so I was really uninspired. Let me put it like that. So the last one for me is, and Omar Tyree is supposed to be logging on. I've communicated with him 5 times, so it's 8:01. He should have logged on by now. He said he was in a restaurant and he was hoping, he said the lighting should be good enough. He was somewhere. And see, last time he had the time zones wrong. So we'll see. So anyway, this one is about the 6888. There have been several books written about the 6888. This one's called No Better Time. I haven't read it yet. I read another book by Kaya Alderson called Sisters in Arms, I think that was the name of it. But this is about the battalion of World War II that did all of the work with the postal, reading letters and making sure that the mail got to the soldiers that were in sometimes overseas and sometimes domestic, but making sure that they got their mail, their letters that their loved ones were sending to them. And sometimes they weren't adequately addressed, and so they had to actually locate the people. So this topic has come to light and become of interest in books for because this is the 3rd book that I'm aware of about this same topic. And then Tyler Perry was doing a movie about the 6888 as well. So, do you have another one, Rhonda?
I didn't want to say anymore unless, if Omar was in.
No, he hasn't logged on. Stephanie Burnham says she's been listening to the Heaven and Earth Grocery Store.
That was actually going to be the next book I mentioned. I enjoyed that story. Now I did have to listen to the end, I think twice, because I felt like I missed something. But I really enjoyed that story, and I like all of the characters that he introduced and how they were brought together. That was an interesting story.
Now, that's James McBride?
Yes, that's James McBride, and it was actually on Barack Obama's reading list. That was the first time I had heard about it.
Okay. The only book by him I read is The Color of Water. I think that's him. And it's about his life. His mother was white, and there were a lot of kids in the family. That's what I can remember about it. I can't remember a lot of details because that's been maybe 10 years ago, longer than that. But that was the only book of his I read. But he writes a lot of books, and his books do well. When you go look him up on Amazon, there'll be thousands of reviews. So his books sell very well. And good luck with him. What was that about? Tony's good luck. Okay, so I may have to go off screen to see if I can communicate with oh, Stephanie said he did write The Color of Water. So yeah,
Okay.
I'm gonna see if I can communicate with Omar and see what's going on with him. Because he
Oh, so Stephanie, when you said you had to return Heaven and Earth grocery store, was that what you mean when you said you had to return it as well? Said she wasn't getting it the first time around? Okay, hopefully she'll answer in a second. Yeah. So well, these are most of the books that I've read over the past couple of months. I'm always looking for a new one. Like I told you, I'm going to be starting this one tonight. But if you have a book that you think, well, I'll tell you, I'm reading this one, and I'm also reading the business book. The business book, in case anybody was wondering, is called Day Trading Attention. It's by Gary Vaynerchuk. And anybody who has a small business and is trying to increase your social media presence, this will probably be a really, really good book for you. Gary V, as he's called on social media, is like a super genius when it comes to social media. So I've been wanting to refresh my game a little bit. So I went ahead and pre-ordered his book. It's now available. So I started reading that. And so these are the two books I'll be reading over the next couple of weeks. But after that, if anybody has a book that you think that we should read or that we should be adding up to our TBR list, go ahead and throw it in the chat and let us know what you think that we should read. Now, I know we've mentioned a lot of the popular books, but I like reading independent authors as well. So if there's an independent author out there whom we should be supporting, who is doing really great things in the literary industry, and then maybe they're not New York Times bestseller status, throw those names in the chat too. We want to be able to support them as well. I'm an independent author myself, so I don't turn my nose up at independent books. I love independent books. So yeah, so I do have these books, and I know we've talked a lot about the popular ones, but if you remember the last time we did this list, I also talked about a couple of independent author books that I had read as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing you guys' choices. I haven't seen them in the chat yet, so I know I'm having connection problems. So maybe they're in there and I just haven't seen them yet. But throw the names of those books in there because I want to read them. I want to get to know them. So hopefully our third guest will be coming on soon, Mr. Omar Tyree. I've met him a number of times. If you followed me back in 2021, he was actually a part of my Black History Month Literary Weekend virtual event. And he tore the house down. He's that person that likes to make people laugh. He's very passionate about what he does. And I think everybody started sharing as soon as he popped on because he's very passionate about his stories and about what he's trying to do with those stories. So hopefully Gwen is coming on to give us good news.
Well, no. Well, okay. I did find his cell number.
Okay.
And I texted him.
Okay.
And that's the extent of it. So I've communicated with him 3 or 4 times about this interview. So I'm not sure what took place. So maybe he'll come on before the time's up. And let's hope that that's the case. But I was listening to you talking about the independent authors. And it's important to a lot of the people who start off independent, they end up getting signed with major publishers, and
Yes.
or they are very successful as self-published authors. Not everybody wants to be with a major publisher because you give up things when you do that.
It's
You
very
get, everything is a give and take, and you have to decide what's most important to you. And
this is all the time when they say that they're independent, they want a big publisher deal. I'm like, there are a couple of things you have to realize about that. Number one, do you want to work on your timeline or do you want to work on someone else's? That's the first thing you have to consider. The other thing you have to consider is you're going to give up some of that control that you have over your product. And then the other part is if you get that a huge $10,000 advance that everybody says that they want, you have to sell enough books to pay that advance back. An advance is not a loan. An advance, an
or
advance,
or a grant.
yes,
Those
and it's
are better. It's not a grant.
and if you're not selling enough books, you will basically be working for that publisher forever, trying to pay that person back for the amount of money that they paid you. So sometimes you don't want that $10,000 advance, and sometimes you don't want to be beholden to a national publisher. I know it sounds good, but you have to really weigh what it is that you really want out of this business, and then you have to weigh what you have time for and what you're willing to give up in order to get that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of other things that occur. For one, yeah, if you get the $10,000 advance or 50 or whatever the amount is, they used to give big advances. Now the people who get those you have to already be well known to get a big advance.
Yeah.
But you don't really see a dime for 2 years. A lot of people don't realize that. Once you get the advance, it takes normally roughly 2 years for your book to come out. And then, you have to have sales for a while to make up whatever the advance was. It's an advance against future royalties is what it is. So you have to sell enough books to pay that money back to the publisher before you see a dime. So you're looking at, it could be years or never, or, so it's not the road to riches that a lot of people assume it is. And then you have to share 15% with your agent. Everything you make, the agent gets 15% forever.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another expense that you have. And
because even not with agent anymore, they are the ones who negotiated that book deal, and you have entered a contract with that person. So even if you're not working with that agent anymore, if you have not convinced them to give up the 15% rights to your book, you're still going to be paying them.
Right. And they can, the publisher, when they buy your rights, they can, they can change whatever they want. They can, they decide what the cover is going to look like. Although you do normally get input as an author, but they can change your whole story. They can say, well, this won't work, even though you might be committed to it in terms of the content. So you have to be flexible as far as what you're willing to give up. I'm not flexible with my work. I'm just telling the truth. Whatever I write, that's what I want to say. I say what I want to say. I say it the way I want it said. I have an editor that checks the grammar and things like that, usage, but not content, because for me, the content is what I want it to be. I don't want somebody to water my stuff down or say it's not marketable. It is marketable. If I sell it, it's marketable for me. It may not sell 50,000 copies that a publisher can get paid, but I don't need to sell 50,000 copies. See, that's the other thing. When it's you don't need to sell as many copies because you're getting, at least half, depending on how you if your list price is 15, you're going to be, depending on if you're selling them yourself, like one-on-one with the customer, you're going to get probably $10 out of that 15. if you sell through Amazon, you'll get $5 out of 15. That's more or less. But then it's on Amazon, and so the people can, it's convenient for people to buy it that way sometimes. But when you're out with your books, you're gonna make a lot more money per copy than you would with the publisher. The publisher, I don't know what the percentage is, but it's a low number for the royalties. Is it like 10 or 7 or 12, or it's some low number for that the author gets? And I've never had a book deal. I never tried to get a book deal, so I don't know what the exact number is. Do you know, Rhonda? Because I know you've been with a traditional publisher before.
It's been a long time since I've been with a traditional publisher. When I moved back to the States, I decided to stay independent.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, we've had people on that talk about that, we've had agents on that talk about the process. We recently had LaShara Lee, she's an agent. We've had Sharon Elliott, she's an agent, and we've had Michelle Lindo Rice, that's another agent that we've had on. So they talk about the agency business and how to get signed and so forth. So
I mentioned that 4th book in Mary Monroe's series. It's called Double Lives. That's the 4th book.
Right. And that one is the same town, but it's different characters. The main characters are different.
Right. So that's why I said it's kind of about some other people who lived in that same town, that same neighborhood. But I haven't finished reading Love, Honor, Betray. So I don't know what happened to those two yet. And don't tell me, Gwen.
I'm not gonna do any spoilers, because that's that's like telling the spoilers in a movie. You want to watch a movie and then somebody tells you how it's gonna end or whatever, or the arc, the main thing that happens, and it ruins it. So we're not gonna do that. But I'll just say they were all 3 very quick reads, page turners. I really liked them. The first one, Mrs. Wiggins, though, is the best out of the 3. So,
I agree.
So, but they're all worth reading, and we hope to have Mary back next year at the festival, because we've already gotten our lineup for this year. We have Dr. Ian Smith, we have April Ryan, Quan, Rashonda Tate, and Vanessa Miller as our featured authors. So for next year, I'm thinking about having a just all female lineup. And one person that we've already confirmed for next year is Beverly Jenkins. I've been trying to get her back at the festival for 10 years. And I keep, like, every time I would contact her, she would already be booked. So I said, you know what? I'm going to contact her 2 years in advance. So we've already confirmed her for 2025. And so I'm thinking of inviting Mary Monroe to come too, and a couple of other people. Have a strong female lineup. We'll see. But everything is locked up so early, like all of our seminar slots, people, because we have some seminars that we put on, and then we have other seminars that are author sponsored. And those author sponsored slots were gone by the end of January. I mean, everybody just has been signing up so much earlier this year than they did last year for everything. And we're at 81% in terms of registrations, vendor space. And something that we added this year, and Rhonda, you gave me the idea. We have a VIP full festival package this year. And in the past, we just had the full festival package, which was basically the 3 special events. We have a reception and 2 breakfasts, and you get those 3 for a discounted price. But our VIP package, you get VIP seating at the opening reception. You get the 3 tickets to the events. Then you get 2 of our literary themed t-shirts of your choice, whichever 2 you want. And you get 2 books, 2 paperbacks by a featured author of your choice. So you get all that for one price. And so that's that's we're actually, you had told me we've actually sold more VIP slots than we have the regular full festival pack. And you told me that's what happened at your event. You know, people want to they want to get everything and kind of get the first class treatment. So, and you know, some people are willing to pay for that. So we decided to add that. And and at our children's festival this year, we have a sponsor, and every child who comes to the children's festival will get a free book. So we were able to do that for this year. Every child will get a free book. And yeah, so that was the sponsor that we picked up for that is a nonprofit called We Need Diverse Books. And Doris Allen is one of the top coordinators for the nonprofit. Doris has been on the show before. She used to be, and I forgot what her title was at HarperCollins, but she left there. She went to the nonprofit, and she's going to be on the show to talk about her nonprofit in a couple of weeks. I forgot which day, but in a couple of weeks, she'll be on the show to talk about that.
Nice.
So since this is what I'm going to do. The person who was going to be on at 8:30 was actually, she signed on early because she was in Hawaii and she got the time mixed up. So I'm going to text her. She told me to text her. I'm going to text her and tell her to just go ahead and sign back on. And then she has a bookstore in California, but she's in Hawaii, and she can tell us why she's in Hawaii and all of that. And so, oh, Omar is calling me now. Let me go off. Okay, let me go off and find out.
That these are things that happen when we are live, but it is all good. That's what makes it exciting. So, you know, while we have a moment, I will announce that Black History Month Literary Weekend, the dates have been set. It will be February 20th through the 22nd. It's going to be here in the DMV. And we will be doing a call for authors later this week. So we're getting those knocked out early. We already have our first sponsor who signed on. We've already located our location for the brunch. So we're getting all of that knocked out early. So we're going to go ahead and get the call for authors going, and then we'll be announcing our special guest speaker later this summer. So we have a lot going on. It's going to be very exciting. It's going to be amazing as normal. For those of you who have not heard of the event or have not been a part of the event, this isn't just about book signings. We actually have an entire weekend dedicated to promoting literacy. So on the first day, which is going to be a Thursday, February 20th, that is our kickoff day, and we'll have our meet and greet. On Friday, the 21st, we will be visiting schools here in the DMV area. Last year, we visited one in DC, and we also visited one in Prince George's County, Maryland. And then we also visited a preschool in Alexandria, Virginia. So we did all of that on Friday, and then we had a big book signing at Barnes & Noble Friday night. And then on Saturday, we have the Ivory and Cream Affair Literary Jazz Brunch, which is where our guest speaker will be. So this is going to be, hey, Omar, this is going to be an amazing weekend. If you'd like more information, make sure you hit me in the DMs, and I will send you the information. He looks really happy to be here for these last couple of minutes.
Yes, Omar, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV. And we've been in the time waiting for you to come on. And so I'm glad I was able to get you. I still had your cell number. And who is in control? So that's your shirt is connected to your book.
Right.
Okay.
What stars? Well, say it again. What stars connected to my book?
No, your T-shirt.
Oh yeah, definitely. I got a bunch of ideas. You know, who's in control? We're out of control. We need control sometimes. So I got like a whole bunch of ideas where you can put that control word in there with the control issues that we have. You know, he is out of control. Control yourself. Stop it. You know, that kind of stuff. So yeah, the book is all about the control issues that we have in America. And I'm going to wear shirts the whole tour that deal with that.
Okay, so you were gonna hold up your book, so let's so the audience can see the cover. And this is a psychological thriller from what I read about it. Is that correct?
Yeah, psychological thriller. Yeah, it's the Stephen King lane where you start dealing with the mental issues. Mental health is a big issue in America. And this book here is a big mental health issue because you can become delusional based on how much control you want to have and what you think you want to have. People also call it ego tripping sometimes, right? When you try to be in control of everything. So I have a psychologist who has 6 clients in Atlanta who all have control issues. And she's an expert on control issues. So she's trying to help these people. And they're all in Atlanta. And if you've been to Atlanta, you know that there's a whole lot of stuff going on in Atlanta. So a lot of people in Atlanta, they believe they have more control than what they really have. And so when you go to Atlanta, the whole place seems delusional because they all say that they're doing stuff that they're trying to do, but not really doing. Now, you do have some people in Atlanta who are doing things, but a lot of them are talking more than they're doing because that's that whole control thing. They don't control what they would like to do, but they can control their mouths to talk about it. And so this book is based in Atlanta where you have a whole lot of that going on. And I got to go to Atlanta next week. So I'll be down there with them next week.
Well, it's not exclusive to Atlanta.
That's true. Are you at home now, or are you on the road right now?
Yeah, I'm in Maryland right now, Capitol Heights, Maryland. I'm at a health foods place, Eat Life restaurant in Capitol Heights. I'm right there. So I'm at an event now, and I had to take a break because I knew we were going to have a short interview, but I said, oh, I'm going to take a break. So I'm right in front of the audience doing a Zoom call. And we just talked about the book over here. Then I jumped right on the call with you guys. So I'm in Maryland. Tomorrow I'm going to be back up in Baltimore at the Pratt Library. Then I'm going to do the Newport News Library in Virginia. And then I'm going to keep on rolling, man. I got Richmond. I got North Carolina, South Carolina, Miami, Jacksonville, 23 cities. And then I got to add the Deep South with Houston. That's going to be coming up in July. With Essence, I do Essence first, probably Jacksonville before Essence. Then after Texas, I'm probably going to do Oklahoma and Arkansas. So I got a whole lot of stuff to do, man. I got to come back and let people know I'm back.
Well, normally Houston isn't considered the Deep South. We are Southwest.
It is a big stop. Houston's a big stop, but it's way down there. So I had to take care of the East Coast first because I'm from Philadelphia. So I'm on the East Coast. When you get to Houston, you got to take care of the Deep South. So yeah, that's like
Texas. You know, Texas used
like
to
the
be
Deep
its own
South,
country,
and then the West Coast.
Yeah, Texas used to be its own country. So we're Texas are very particular about how our state is described. So anyway,
and you're going to the Deep South.
Y'all don't like it's not. Texas isn't considered the Deep South. But anyway, I know you're going to Newport News. That's my hometown.
Gotcha. Yeah, Newport News.
Newport News. That's where I grew up. That's where I went to high school. I went to, and you're right now. You're right next door to where Rhonda is. I don't know how close Capitol Heights is to where you are. She's in Maryland. Rhonda's
I actually started my career down there in Newport News. But go ahead, you got it.
I said you're about 30 minutes away from me right now because I live in the DC area now.
Yeah, you got it. Well, that's something I'm in the DMV for this whole week. And then going down to Virginia Beach and then coming back to the DMV, back to Baltimore, you know. So yeah, I'm here for the whole week.
So the one in Baltimore, is it open to the public? Is it something that we can send?
Yes, it is. Everything's open to the public. You know, whether you buy a book or not is on you, but everything's open to the public. Mm-hmm. And we got the interview with podcaster Marsha Jews. So she's going to be the podcaster. I'm doing a lot of events with podcasters because they bring an audience and they're ready for the questions. And I'm ready for the answers all the time. You know that. I'm ready to talk. So we got podcasters all over the coast because they the new thing now. Everybody's doing the podcast thing. So they already know how to talk. They already have an audience. And then, you know, I'm a talker. So, you know, we get on there together and we rock it out. So I do a whole lot of events with podcasters as the host. And Marsha Jews, yeah, she's very happy, very excited, very good podcaster in Baltimore.
Nice. Okay. Are you familiar with her, Rhonda?
No, I'm not, but I'm going to look her up.
You know, the thing about podcasting, actually, our show is live streamed, but we're on podcast platforms too. But the live is on
Right.
Facebook, and our podcast
Okay.
audio is on the platforms, but it's uploaded to them 2 or 3 days after the show. So
Okay.
that part is not live. But
Okay.
our show is almost 4 years old, so we've been around for a while, interviewed over 600 guests,
Yeah.
and have a solid audience online, and we have a lot of people who watch the video after the show. So what you hadn't had a book out in a while, and I know at some point you were going into, you said you were going to be a rapper, and with that, and what made you go back to your first love, I guess, writing books?
Well, this book is called Control. And the reason why I kind of fell out of love with books for a minute, I couldn't control the film game. We all wanted to adapt, the books to film. And I have a lot of books now. I got 31, Control makes 31. And at least half of those books are great film ideas. And so I kept trying to go out to Hollywood to create films. And then music, of course, is with the films with soundtracks and stuff. And it just seemed like those individuals are getting a lot more attention. And so I was like, man, I can't get movies done. Then we start having a lot of authors that we inspired that were competing against us. So then the first I came in with like 12 Black authors. Then by the time we got to the 2000s, it was like 200 Black authors. And so now I got to compete with a lot of people, and you didn't feel as special anymore. Then since I couldn't do film, I was like, man. So I felt like I had lost a lot of control over the establishment of being an individual name and doing great content, because I couldn't elevate it to that next level of film. So it took me a while to just, accept the fact that, you know what, you may never do film, but you're a great book writer. So it took me a while to come back to it. Now I have new energy. I'm still going to keep trying to do films, but I'm just going to negotiate with them, and I'm never going to step away from the book game again. So now I'm looking at doing a lot of things with books, a new book every year, maybe 2 books a year, and then putting out other young authors. And so I'm going to be in the book game for a minute now, but I'm still going to try to do films. But I got jaded in those years where it was like, it was just too many books, and you weren't getting the attention that you wanted to have for your books in particular anymore. And when you couldn't do films like Tyler Perry and, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of the guys are doing, Spike Lee and those guys, and John Singleton, a lot of the story ideas, I just wanted people to see it, particularly for the men who don't read. I wanted them to be able to see it. And so they just wore me out. But now I just had to accept the fact that, hey, man, you may never be able to do movies. I still hope that I can. But in the meantime, let me come back to what I'm good at doing, and that's writing books.
Amen to that. I remember that conversation with you a couple years ago.
Yeah, the last time you were on, which was I think maybe 2 years ago, or maybe 2.5 years ago, because you were in your car. The last time you were on, that I remember.
Yeah.
So, do you feel like you lost any momentum by stepping away from books and coming back?
Definitely. Right now, Barnes and Nobles don't even want to carry my books right now. We take 5. I'm like, whoa, Barnes and Noble's taking 5. So yeah, you got to rebuild it. And so now I got to rebuild the momentum, definitely. But I'm cool with that. I understand how it works, and you got to do the job you have to do. But I know I can write good books, and Control was a heck of a book. So when people start reading it, I'm gonna do all the Zoom calls with the book clubs and whatnot. And when they read it, they gonna know like, oh, Omar can still write. You know what I mean? It took a while, but now when I got these new ideas, they're fresh ideas. Sometimes you can get wore out from something and then it starts slacking. You know what I mean? So I think I needed a break. So now I can come back with full energy, full gusto. I'm not jaded. And now I have a new challenge because I have to rebuild that momentum. So now you challenging Aries. So I'm on fire for this thing now. And I know I write good books, and Control was the start of it again. So I'm cool. I got to do new rebuilding of the momentum, but I definitely lost a lot of momentum. No question about it.
So when you first got into because I remember when you first got into, in fact, I'm almost certain, I'm pretty sure, I'm almost like 99% certain. When we opened our bookstore in 2000, I think you were at our grand opening. So that's been 24 years ago. And as you said, when you first came out, there weren't that many books. There weren't that many authors. There weren't that many Black authors. There were a few. Now there are thousands. But on the positive side, that really means there's more options for readers. And when you have a lot of authors, I think it even motivates people to read because they have choices.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, if you can't get in the chain stores, then it opens up. I remember Sister Shahrazad Ali, and she did a whole lot of work at the Black bookstores, and she's out of Philadelphia. So we had our sit-down talks. I was trying to get her distribution list when I first started. She wouldn't even give me that, so I had to go get that myself. But I did it because I was willing to work. So now I'm in that same position where I have to rebuild, you know what I mean, my name and my momentum. I'm cool with doing that because I know I can write and I still got the energy. So even though I'm an older dude now, I still have the energy to drive to all these places, fly to all these places, do a 40-city tour, and then live to tell about it, you know, so I'm going to do that. Omar did 40 cities. Yes, I did. I had a lot of work to do with this control book, you know, so yeah, I'm ready for the work.
Well, the great thing about it is that you mentioned it, you hit the nail on the head a little bit earlier. You inspired a lot of authors. There are so many authors in the game because they read your book. There are many people who started reading because they read Fly Girl. Many people who started writing because they read Fly Girl. So you actually started this. So yeah, you are kind of competing with a lot more authors, but you're competing with authors who you inspired to be authors. And so I think that's something to say for yourself.
Yeah, it's ironic, right? But I have to tell you something. Simon & Schuster was putting the Fly Girl series back out, and they called me up about 2 months ago and asked me about the cover designs. So I gave them new cover designs. And when they put that in the book back out, they're going after the young people again. So I'm about to start all over again with the young people because the book is still an excellent book and the young people haven't been introduced to it. So my name's going to stretch again with the young people buying Fly Girl again. But now I got to grab all the other books, my Do Right Man, my Single Mom, my Sweet St. Louis, my Leslie, my Just Say No, and make sure that I push them to the social studies classes, the African American literature classes, the African American studies classes, and the American literature classes, because I wrote a lot of books about a lot of different subjects. I never was the kind of writer that wrote the same stuff all the time. I always took on different subjects from our community that were pressing topics. So now I can reintroduce them as social studies. Omar dealt with poverty, family, relationships, you know what I mean? All of them. Every book I wrote had a different issue because I'm a journalist. So I did that on purpose. So now when I come back to them, I can angle those books towards specific social studies and African American studies departments because it's more like social history and me breaking down the issues that we had with so many things in the community. And I never was a person that did something random or used the same thing that someone else did. Even Fly Girl was about 1980s materialism. Then I wrote a book, Capital City, about capitalism in DC when it was all drug people. So I always was writing books that meant something that was journalistically based. And now I'm gonna come back to Simon & Schuster and help them to market those books in the right way. Because if you just market them as just novels, then you're missing the point. These were social studies. Omar was breaking down the Black community from day one, and he never stopped. And so now I'm coming back with this control issue. It's another issue again, where we're losing our mental health because we can't control certain things. And that's the way life is. You have to negotiate. White man is losing control now because Black people have more power. So that's a part of life. You're going to have to deal with negotiating with people now. And so that's what this book is all about. We have to all negotiate. We are not in control like we think we are.
Amen.
Okay, well, show your book cover again, Omar, because we're at the end of our time because it was cut short. But I'm glad we were able to get you on and show the cover of your book. And
let me
your
grab
book
one
is
of them.
okay.
Let me grab one of them.
Oh, okay. Your book is available. It's called Control by Omar Tyree. It's available wherever books are sold, online and brick and mortar.
Yep, you got it.
Okay, well,
thanks,
congratulations
guys.
on coming back into the game again. And I'm sure it's going to work out well for you on your tour.
And I'll be down in Houston with the second week of July after Essence in New Orleans.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
Yep.
yeah, let us know where you are, where you'll be when you come. We'll see if we can make sure we're there.
Yeah, they got me at the Houston Library on July 10th, and I'm going to do some other events around that too. So July 10th, they got me at the Houston Library. I got to see which one it is.
Okay, probably
All right.
downtown. Okay, all right. Take care.
Bye.
All right, guys. I'll send it to you. You got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, well, we are in our last interview, and we're excited to have, and I forgot how to pronounce her name, so she'll have to tell me, because I don't know if it's Aysia or what, but she is the owner of the Protagonist Black Bookstore in, where is your bookstore? Fontana, California. Is that Northern California or Southern California?
It is SoCal, more specifically the Inland Empire, so about an hour east of Los Angeles.
Okay, and how do you pronounce your first name?
Aysia.
Aysia, okay. Aysia. Well, welcome, Aysia, to Black Authors Matter TV, and congratulations on opening your bookstore. I think I read about it opening. Did you open recently?
Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here. This is super cool. I'm very excited.
Okay. Now, did your bookstore open recently?
So Protagonist Black has been open for almost a year. We launched Juneteenth of last year.
Okay.
That was our first weekend, and we have been off to the races ever since.
Okay, that's a good launch pad. You know, is deciding when to launch. It should be strategic in some way, and that's a good, because you can make your launch, if it's Juneteenth, you can make it a Juneteenth holiday activity. You know, for people. So now you're in Hawaii right now.
I am. So sorry for the time zone confusion. I'm 3 hours behind my usual Pacific time. So it's been an odd few days. I am in Oahu attending the National Conference on Race and Education. I work in higher education in my other life. I'm a sociologist by training. So I'm out here doing some professional development.
And enjoying the scenery. I haven't been to Hawaii. I think Rhonda has, though. Have you been, Rhonda?
Yeah, Hawaii is beautiful.
Yeah, I've heard it's gorgeous. Just looking at the pictures, I mean, the video and the pictures is gorgeous. So that's on my list of places to go. I haven't been yet. So now, what made you name your bookstore Protagonist Black? Well, Protagonist and then Black, but the two together.
Protagonist is Black? I thought that's the way I read it.
No, it's Protagonist Black.
It's Protagonist Black.
I read it wrong.
But the protagonist could be Black too.
Right, and we are very interested in Black protagonists. So we specialize in culturally diverse books and cocktail pairings. That's our whole thing. Everything in our collection is written by a person of color with the emphasis on Black authors and creators. So when I had this idea, you know, I was like, I want to, you know, bring this up to my husband. I want to go for it. I want to launch this thing. But I am a big marketing nerd, if you will. So I'm like, I only want to do it if it has a cool name. I said, God, if it's meant to be, give me a cool name for it. It'll come to me. I'm not going to search for it. And I was washing my hair. It was wash day, and it popped into my brain, Protagonist Black, and it's central to the work that we do, because it's important to us that Black folks can see themselves in all genres, at all ages. When I was a kid, it was difficult to find books by Black authors, right? And as I was curating a library for my kids, we live in a book desert. It was hard to find books by Black authors. The only stores we had were Barnes and Noble, and the closest independent bookstores were 40 minutes in opposite directions. And so those indie bookstores were the ones curating, you know, the things that we wanted for our kids. So I wanted it to be very clear from the moment that the customers interacted with us, what we stood for, what we were all about. I wanted our folks in the culture to be able to see themselves as soon as they arrived in the space, or as soon as they interacted with our website, our marketing, our socials. And, you know, we it's short for, well, when you shorten it, it becomes pro-Black, which is what we are, which is what we're all about. And so Protagonist Black was born on Wash Day.
I like pro-Black. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that. You can
But
short.
so, and I think I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it now. Is it a requirement that every author sold in your store is Black, or that every book have a Black protagonist? So let's say there's a non-Black author who has a Black protagonist. Are they in the bookstore as well, or is this purely for Black authors?
So everything in our store is written by a person of color. The majority of the works that we curate are by Black authors, but I believe in transparent representation. I think that the best folks to tell our stories are us. And so I am very careful not to put things in the store that are just optically representative, but are authentically from our community. That's very important to me. And so when we are picking out books to stock, when we're recommending titles, it's always going to be by a person of color. With the exception, there is one book that doesn't meet the rule. It's called The Marathon Don't Stop by Rob Kenner, and it's a biography of Nipsey Hussle, who is also very important to our community. And that's just a story that we had to amplify and share. So that's the one exception to the rule, but everything else in Protagonist Black is written by folks of color.
Mm-hmm. You know, that reminded me of something. I had to constantly block and tackle on our Facebook page because we have a lot of followers, but we have stalkers or trollers or whatever you want to call it. And they'll leave a snarky remark, or sometimes they'll leave a stupid remark. And one lady said, why do you have to have the name Black? This is for the National Black Book Festival. Why do you have to have the name Black, the word Black in the name? Because it shouldn't matter. This is a white person. And she said, I don't care about the race of the author. Well, she really does, but she won't admit it because it's not an issue for her. If we want to read, and this is what I said, and I also, with those people, I end up blocking them and then deleting their comments. But because if they don't want to see our information, I don't want them to see our information. That's my position on it. But I told her, because we want to. That's it, period. That's it. I mean, we can do whatever we want.
I had a person who responded when we were sending out our email blast about our Black History Month literary weekend. Somebody decided that, I don't even know how he ended up on my email list, but whatever. But he decided to email me back and say, well, what about, he goes, I have an idea. What about an all-American weekend? Stop separating the races. And you know, that's not what Black History Month is all about. That's not what Black Authors Matter TV is all about.
No,
but
absolutely not. Because we've had non-Black people on the show, but we are unapologetic about our goal. And it's to amplify Black authors and Black literature in the whole sphere of it. And we don't apologize for it, period. And we won't, and we shouldn't have to. But then somebody will say, what if I wanted to put on a National White Book Festival? And I said, you already have a number of them. They just don't have the word white in the name. It's not, they're 99% white. They might invite one Black person or two. So just because you don't put it in the name doesn't mean it's not the reality.
All of this to say is that, you know, you're going to have the hate comments, you're going to have the hate questions. But when you are strong in your beliefs and your platform and what you are trying to do, then you can actually hold fast to that. So I love the
Yeah.
fact I love the name Protagonist Black, and calling it pro Black. I mean, I think it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. And so I said that, I told that story to
Thank you so
tell
much.
people. Sometimes you can just tell people because I want to. Period. That's it. End of conversation. I don't have to justify anything to anybody. You know. That's why we pay for our Zoom and we pay for our Facebook. We know we're not beholding to anybody, and if anybody's offended, then let me block you. So then you won't have to see it if it offends you. And I do block. I'm constantly blocking and tackling every, just all kinds of stuff. The spammers, the scammers, people trying to get us to, get our passwords. People just posting their books over and over and over. Now, if somebody posted once in a comment, okay. But if you go into every post we do and put in your book, you will be blocked. Because you're not allowed to do that. So anyway, I wanted to encourage you to let your store be what you want it to be and be the best at that.
Yeah, I think that we've been lucky and intentional about curating a really amazing community. And we are so clear and steadfast in our vision for the shop that you can't really question it. It's not a space for you. I think that, all are welcome, but we celebrate what we celebrate and we're unapologetic about that. I think it is a very lucky accident of birth to not have had to think critically about your community. And so for people who ask, why do you need these spaces? Why does it have to be called this or that? I think that it's an opportunity for them to examine why they haven't had to do that, and what that means for their existence and their identity, and, be open. So many of our customers who are not folks of color, are open to dialogue. And I think that's because we set clear, unapologetic parameters. Like, it is what it is. You can't really attack it because we stand on business about it, right out the gate. But the Facebook trolls are crazy. I hope y'all figure out how to get them out.
There you go. Well, tell us a bit
up every week
about the store. How is it set up? Do you have book signings? Do you have events at your store?
Yeah, so we operate primarily as a pop-up. So we pop up all over the place between the Los Angeles area and the Inland Empire where we are. And even beyond that, we kind of go where we're called. We are, building our reputation in our community, and folks request us out to their special events. So we get to travel and meet an amazing customer base that way. We also have a shared retail space within a nonprofit called the African American Advisory Alliance in Pomona, California, where folks can shop with us during the week. And that is an amazing, amazing organization to be a part of. It's a community center with these mini stores, if you will, called Anchors, all Black owned businesses, and folks can come and shop with all of us. And we throw a lot of programs out of that space. One of our most popular events has been our Reading on the Rocks Spirited Book Fair. It is a grown-up book fair like the one you remember from elementary school, but leveled up for grown-ups with cocktails and music and art. It's a complete vibe. We have a time every time. We do that quarterly. We also have a Friends of the Shop program, which is our way of supporting our local independent authors. They are allowed to, I won't say allowed, but they are welcome to come and table at our events and sell their books directly to our customer base, which has been amazing. So there's so much talent in our area, and being able to highlight some of those folks in our spaces has been very cool. So yeah, we do events quarterly. We do have signings, and we have a couple different ways folks can shop with us in person and online.
Now, how many days a week are you open?
During the week, Tuesday through Friday, and pop-ups, the schedule can vary, but every Saturday. at our local farmers market, and then Sundays as invited. So we'll often do special events on Sundays.
Oh, that's probably a great way to network during the farmers markets.
Definitely. So we try to challenge ourselves to be in spaces where bookstores typically aren't, because that was the whole point of us starting it. And so we've been able to get connected with schools and offer our services to libraries and groups doing professional development and diversity, equity, and inclusion work. And so it's been a really cool way to kind of test where we want our permanent store to land when it's time for the full brick and mortar to open.
Okay. I was just sitting there thinking about, when we have the word Black in our names of our events or our stores or whatever, some of that is so our customers can find us. Otherwise, how would they, if they're looking for something culturally specific, they need to be able to find it. And the way they can find it is in the name. And so, that's, otherwise you just one of, it's marketing. When you market, you need to know your audience and you need to be able to identify them and make it easy for them to find you. That's part of selling. It's part of promoting. And so I don't see that changing.
Yeah.
There was at some point there was the hope of I won't call it colorblind, but that race wouldn't matter. Okay, that I think people maybe thought that, or maybe they hoped that, but it's, culture matters. People don't give up. The Irish didn't give up St. Patrick's Day. They assimilated, but they still kept their stuff. And so, the Mexicans still celebrate Cinco de Mayo. And so, and it's culture. So you shouldn't have to give up your culture to assimilate. You can assimilate the portion that you want. And that's all part of being a free American. So, Aysia,
I think building community. I think the building of community is key. I think that the way that we build community is by not only seeing our differences and noticing them, but then affirming them and being accepting of them. You can't truly value me as a human, as a person, if you don't see all of who I am. So I am radically against folks seeking color blindness as their way.
Saying they don't see color. They're telling stories.
Right.
They're not
it's
being
like,
truthful.
To erase me in that way.
Right.
That's honoring who I am. And so
I'm just a watered down blob.
Exactly. And so I think I'm a DEI practitioner. And so I think a lot, and I ask folks who do my workshops and things to think a lot about the identities that precede them when they go into a room. And for me, Blackness is always going to be at the top of that list, followed by being a woman. And then everything else after that, right? So the way that folks perceive me, the way that I navigate the world is with those two lenses first. So of course, when you come into me and my Black husband's shop, it's gonna be very, very blackity black because we are who we are.
Congratulations on taking that giant leap to have a bookstore. As people know that watch the show, my husband and I had a brick and mortar from 2000 to 2010. And so we went through all the challenges and the joys, and you have to do a lot of keeping your ear to the ground and listening to your customers. It's very important, and keeping your overhead as low as possible. Well, we're at the end of our interview time. Just tell people again the name of your store and where it's located.
Yes, the name of my store is Protagonist Black. If you follow us on Instagram at Protagonist Black, you will be able to see everywhere that we plan to be, everywhere that we're going, everywhere that we are currently. You can shop with us online, www.protagonistblack.com. My name is Aysia Brown. My co-founder is my husband, Kevin Brown, and we can't wait to have y'all shop with us.
Okay, and
thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Enjoy the rest of your time in Hawaii.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, well, that was our final interview. We had an interesting show tonight, and we have some really great shows coming up. I think the next 3 or 4 weeks are booked. Um, we will not have a show on the week during the week of the 4th of July, just to let you all know that in advance, because that's a week of vacation for people, including us. We can take a break. And so, but the rest of the weeks we will be on Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Central and 8 p.m. Eastern. That's it for this week. I'm Gwen Richardson signing off.
And I'm Dr. Rhonda Lawson. Have a wonderful evening and a great week.
Thank you for tuning in, and join us next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern for another edition of Black Authors Matter TV.